Hello, and what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Psycho-Synopsis. I am Master of the TDS, and I am joined by my lovely wife,
WritingRaven. Now let's get into it.
Monica, you gotta fly.
No.
Black girl magic. Black girl magic.
No.
Despite spin, The Marvels crumbles with a dismal 55% Rotten Tomatoes and a 33% top critic score, scathing critiques, and an anticipated 45 million to 50 million opening, cementing it as Marvel's misfire, plagued by flaws and igniting skepticism about the MCU's future without iconic characters.
Beautiful.
Now, we actually do know the opening weekend box office numbers for The Marvels,
And it is 47 million.
which cements it as literally the worst opening for an MCU movie of all time.
Maybe even the worst Marvel movie in general of all time.
We can't confirm that, though, which this includes the, Fox, X-Men, or whatever. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it.
But I would not be surprised if that were the case.
I do know that it's tracking lower than The Flash,
Oh, yeah.
and it is definitely lower than The Incredible Hulk, which was the worst opening MCU movie before this one.
Yep. It has been dethroned.
And as you can see, the headlines are not being nice. There are obviously some people trying to spin it and saying, oh, well, it was the strikes, and they couldn't promote it, and that's why it failed.
Yeah, but no one believes it, and it's just not going to work. There is no way they are going to salvage this disaster.
Especially since we've seen recently a movie that is in theaters currently that is disproving both of these things. They're saying, oh, well, streaming numbers hurt it. Five Nights at Freddy's was available to stream the day it released.
And it is doing great because people actually wanted to see it.
And also, weirdly enough, it wasn't given promotion by the actors or actresses involved because they couldn't.
Yeah.
And yet, it did great. Everybody who says, oh, well, Captain Marvel was a $1 billion movie, and so it's going to make a lot of money because people like her.
Everyone knows it was only made $1 billion because it was sandwiched in between two more important movies, and everyone thought they had to see Captain Marvel in order to understand what was going to happen in Endgame, which turned out to be a total lie.
And you have to remember, we were at the peak of the MCU at that point. It was like, even if there were a couple dud movies, right? Like, Iron Man 2 was not the best.
Iron Man 3 was worst.
Yes, but the point I'm making is that even those movies were kind of given a pass because things were still good. People still went to go see them because they wanted to watch Endgame, to see, the culmination of everything.
True, but you still hate what they did to the Mandarin.
Yeah. Where are all the people who should have gone to support the Marvels? I thought you said she was super popular and that everybody was going to go.
Could be that they only exist on Twitter and are not actually real people.
Yeah, and trying to defend it by making excuses when there's no reason for excuses here. There's none. The only thing that you can take away from this, if you look at these headlines and you look at what's going on, the fact is, nobody liked Captain Marvel. Nobody liked these two characters. I think the best explanation for why this movie failed, however, is The Marvels is the tedious culmination of a lot of superhero homework.
Yep, that's an understatement. You have to watch so many different things in order to just understand what's going on in this movie. And from what we have heard, even if you do complete all of that homework, you're still not going to understand what's going on in this movie.
Yeah, some reviews said, basically, it feels like it's a sequel to a movie you haven't seen. And even when watching the stuff in the Disney Plus, it doesn't explain it any better.
Yeah, no wonder it failed.
The movie failed. The MCU is at a point where it is not in a good place. They either need to completely stop and put it on ice for a couple of years, which they probably won't do, or they need to right the ship, which, again, I also don't think they're going to do.
Yeah, I don't see them doing either, because it's Disney and they're run by stupid people.
Yeah. And I will say, apparently from the reviews, Iman Vellani's Ms. Marvel was the best part of the film. My wife and I have not seen the film, but we are reporting on what we have heard around it and what the general consensus is, because we think that's important to disclose.
Indeed.
And we'll see what the MCU holds going forward.
We shall.
For the first time in New York history, people froze to death in the middle of July.
Let it go, let it go.
Light him up.
The Ghostbusters Frozen Empire trailer is out, bringing back the OG Ghostbusters for a spooky New York City showdown. But some diehard Ghostbusters 2016 fans are flipping out, acting like total freaks because they're not getting a sequel.
It's not getting a sequel because it sucked!
A lot of people hold the 2016 Ghostbusters movie, the all-female reboot, as like the moment where like wokeness or whatever permeated the environment and whatever. It became a huge talking point.
It actually permeated long before then, but it became most noticeable with this movie.
Yes. Now, giving our opinions on the trailer, it looks pretty cool.
It does. I love the part where the icicles come out of the ground in streets, impaling things. Ah, I'm totally going to use that in a story.
Show of hands, who here is surprised to hear that Raven likes where their people are getting impaled and it's all bloody?
I am a disciple of the Impaler, after all.
No.
Aw, come on. I want to be Vlad's disciple.
Garlic flour.
Anyway.
It looks good. A lot of people are happy to see the original Ghostbusters back, and they seem to have a couple other ones. Mm-hmm. They do have the kids back, which, again, a lot of people are upset about, but to be fair, we were going to see the kids back. It was just going to happen.
They were the main part of the Afterlife movie, and they were, in my opinion, a highlight of the Afterlife movie, because they were portrayed well.
Yes, I also understand where people are coming from, where they're wanting it to just be like a Ghostbusters movie with like adults. I get that, because that was where the first two Ghostbusters, shined very well.
Yes, but the original Ghostbusters are old. They need successors.
Yeah, so again, I can understand that. A lot of people also are upset about Patton Oswalt being included for various reasons that we're not going to go into because we have limited time.
Yeah.
Now, I want to look at some of these because these responses are showing you just how annoyed these people are all these years later that they're not getting a sequel to 2016 Ghostbusters. Because, again, nobody hated that movie because it was all women. We hated it because it was a bad movie.
And because it crapped all over the original.
It tried to make fun of the original, whatever. It didn't work. It didn't work. It was a comedy movie that wasn't funny.
That's an understatement. Every other joke was a fart joke, and those are never funny.
That, and also don't forget we had that one with the wontons.
Oh, yeah. Ugh.
I unfortunately have seen this movie.
I have not, and I'm glad for it.
It was not good, including the dancing number in it, where all the ghosts dance.
Why?
And they have a really stupid guy in the movie who just gets possessed by a ghost, and he's just there for, like, eye candy and whatever. But let's read some of these interesting ones, so we could say, it still pisses me off that we were cheated from getting a sequel to Ghostbusters 2016 because a legion of whiny, crying fanboys were upset we ruined their childhood. 2016 was a fantastic film. It doesn't deserve the hate it gets. I do love Afterlife, though. I'm never going to forgive people for telling me Ghostbusters Afterlife was a good movie. That was genuinely one of the worst movies I've ever seen. No.
You're delusional.
It wasn't exactly what Ghostbusters was. I'll give you that. But it captured the heart of what made Ghostbusters Ghostbusters. And that's why people liked it. That's why people watched it. That's why people care about it.
You want to know why else people liked it? Because it respected what came before. And the part at the end where they put on the screen for Harold made me cry.
We're not going to go into details in case you haven't seen it, but you really should. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect movie by any means. We want to make that very clear.
But it is still something that is faithful to its source. And that is something we hardly get to see these days.
Yeah, and we need more of that, and making stuff for the fans is what we need. Now, whether this will be good or not, I don't know. I do like that they're going with a brand new villain.
Mm-hmm. It's probably going to be Jack Frost.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think it was originally supposed to come out in Christmas, so it wouldn't be surprising if it was actually some sort of Christmas-themed spirit.
We'll see.
I'm interested in this. I don't know if it'll be good necessarily, but I'm willing to give it a try because, unlike with 2016, they didn't try to insult the fan base and call us all names for not liking their pile of garbage that was a movie.
What he said.
I don't know why, but I thought this thing would be a lot faster.
Appa's right, Zuko. In our group, typically we start out our missions with a more upbeat attitude.
I can't believe this.
Netflix releases the 2024 live-action Avatar The Last Airbender trailer, but fan skepticism looms as the original creators Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, I believe, left the project to focus on a 2025 theatrical release for an animated film at Avatar Studios in Paramount.
I mean, I don't blame them for leaving originally, given that it's Netflix, but I was fairly surprised by this trailer.
I'm going to let you go into more detail on it, because you are more of an Avatar fan than I am. I am definitely a fan, but I'm not as much. She knows more than I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to say that the reason the showrunners originally left was because they felt it wasn't being faithful to the source material, and it was breaking promises that were made to them, which doesn't bode well for this.
Yeah.
But the trailer did look pretty decent.
It did. Most of the characters look like they're supposed to look, which is really nice to see. It looks like they're going to be following the story pretty closely. The animation for Appa and Momo actually looks great. They even kept Momo's original sounds. The trailer had the original Avatar theme music. And Suki! They had Suki! It was good to see Suki in her full getup. That was really cool. We never do get to find out what happened to Suki after the gang grew up.
Well, we're getting some new movies, so maybe we will find out.
I do hope so, because I don't think it was ever mentioned in the continuing comic books what happened to Suki. She just disappeared. So, I look forward. I am going to hold on to some hope that this is going to be good and maybe follow the live-action One Piece, because live-action One Piece really surprised me. But I am also going to hold on to the skepticism that the original creators are not a part of this, whereas Oda-sama was part of One Piece.
That I agree. I think that this could be good if Netflix has learned, which I think they have. However, the big difference, as my wife mentioned, is that the original showrunners are not here, whereas Oda was.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, it makes it a little bit worrisome. Now, we are going to get some new animated films of Avatar, which is something to look forward to, because they're by the original people involved.
If it has the same animation style and humor, I definitely look forward to it.
However, we do have to recognize that these are the same people who also created The Legend of Korra.
True. And then Korra got a sequel, I think, called The Legend of Genji, which is about the Avatar after her. And I don't even know if that actually came out or if it even exists anymore.
I don't know. Korra was garbage.
Absolute garbage, yeah. Especially that last season.
I watched some of it. I couldn't finish it because it was too bad. I just didn't like it. I'm sorry, when you introduce an avatar, you don't introduce her by saying, "I'm the Avatar, deal with it!"
And also have her bending 3 of the 4 elements at the age of 5.
And then also having it at the end where you kind of retcon it because people were shipping things, and so you need to make it so that she's with a woman even though she's not necessarily needs to be or whatever. It's weird.
Very.
But this looks good. They definitely got the looks right for a lot of the characters. It's not perfect.
Mm-hmm. Iroh's beard could be a bit better.
No, I think that Uncle Iroh is actually the one that looks the best. We'll see how this does. I am open to giving it a try, but as we said, it really hinges on Netflix because Netflix hasn't been batting 100 here.
Yeah.
One Piece was great because Oda was involved and because the original people, they learned from what happened to Cowboy Bebop.
Which is quite surprising that a movie studio learned anything from a past failure.
My concern is that the original showrunners aren't here.
Yeah.
And that because they feel that they did so well with One Piece, that they might not have put as much effort or as much love into it as perhaps it needed. And a lot of people also feel that we don't even really need a live action because it was done correctly and everybody likes the animated shows, so why do we even need this?
We don't, but they want to make money.
Then again, I understand why you want to do this, again, because it's profitable, and also if they do anything better than the M. Night Shyamalan version...
Ugh, we don't speak of that.
For a time, I did see that a couple times, and I didn't hate it, but... You have to be someone who has, not familiar with Avatar to like it.
Yeah. Which is why we don't speak of it.
Yeah, making something for the fans is the right call. We'll have to see whether this pans out in the future, but be skeptical, but also somewhat optimistic, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Why don't you have a seat?
Because this isn't a therapy session. I'm just asking you what people in your racket say about handling this particular situation.
And now it is time for the diagnosis of the week.
Where we diagnose the week with a mental illness.
Because someone has to.
And we got a good diagnosis for this week.
Do tell.
The diagnosis for this week is psychological flexibility.
Please explain.
So psychological flexibility is the ability to stay in contact with the present moment regardless of unpleasant thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations while choosing one's behaviors based on the situation and personal values. It relates to today's topic in a number of ways.
For example, The Marvels shows just how not flexible Hollywood is. Rather than admit failure, it needs to be someone else's fault.
The Netflix live-action Avatar shows some flexibility, but still has fans skeptical.
And Ghostbusters is the perfect example of learning to be flexible when faced with the truth and not caving to the weirdos just to keep face.
We need to see more psychological flexibility in Hollywood in general, because you can't just put it on the fans. You can't just make it everybody else's fault. Sometimes you need to be present in the moment and recognize that your personal feelings and your personal things are guiding it. You can try to do it based on your morals and values, but you know what? Sometimes you also have to listen to what other people have to say and not use it as an excuse to why your morals and values are better than everybody else's. Appeal to a majority, not a minority that happens to be you, and blame everybody else if they don't agree with you. That's what Hollywood's doing. And because of that, that's why we're here now. That's why The Marvels is failing. We're going to see how Hollywood changes or adapts to this, and I see them probably still throwing blame on everybody else because that's what Hollywood does. But that's why I feel this is a great diagnosis for this week.
I agree.
That is all we have for this week. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and also make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe with notifications on so you do not miss your weekly therapy session.
Or you will be charged.
Gothic Therapy out.